I'm Professor Rad, and today we're going to talk about how you find factors of a number. Let's get started. So let's define what a factor is. A factor of a natural number is any natural number that divides the number evenly with no remainder. In other words, a factor is any number that goes into another number without any decimal or any nastiness to it. So there are a lot of different techniques that you can use to find the factors of a number. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I could do in a very systematic way to ensure that I don't miss any of the factors. And we're going to find factors of 4 different numbers today. Let's start out with 24. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out my process so that later on when I'm looking at my notes, I know how I got my answer, right? I know what I did to help me remember. So first, I'm going to start out with 1. I always start out with 1. And I'm going to use my calculator to help me with this because we're going to do a lot of dividing because factors divide evenly into numbers. So I'm going to do 24 and divide it by 1. So I'm going to write out what I'm going to type so that later on I remember where I got that from. So 24 divided by 1 is 24. Okay, and then I'll deal with that later, what that means in a minute. Right now, I'm just going to do all my dividing for the bit. So I'm going to do 24 divided by 2. I get 12. Let's try 3. 24 divided by 3. I get 8. 24 divided by 4, I get 6. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on making this list of division until what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the number in the right-hand side to become smaller than the number on the left-hand side. So for example, notice all of my numbers that I'm writing out as I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, those numbers go up. When I divide by them, I start out with the largest possible answer, and then it's going to get smaller as I go. So at some point, the numbers that are going up are going to pass the numbers that are coming down. That's the point that I'm looking for. That's the point when I'm going to stop. Okay, so let's try 5. So I'll do 24 divided by 5, and I get 4.8. Okay, so I actually have now reached that point where I divided by 5 and I got a number that's smaller than what I divided by. So that's going to be my stopping point. So I'm going to put a note to myself. Here I stop the dividing because 4.8 is smaller than 5. All right, sweet. So here's what all of our work means. A factor is a number that divides another number evenly. So anytime that we did this dividing and we got a whole number, no decimals or fractions, then that means that both of those numbers are factors of the number. So when we divided by 1, we got 24. So that means 1 and 24 are factors of 24. When we divided by 2, we got 12, which is another whole number. So that means both 2 and 12 are factors of 24. The same thing happened with 3. When we divided by 3, we got a whole number. And then when we divided by 4, we got a whole number. And when we divided by 5, we got a decimal. So that means that 5 is not a factor of 24 because you get a decimal. So these numbers I've written off on the side, these are all the factors of 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12. I don't know why I wrote 24 twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. And that's our process. So let's look at a number where the process is a little less, flows a little bit less nicely. So let's look at 25. So I'm going to start out the same way. I'm going to do 25 divided by 1, and I get 25. Okay, let's do 25 divided by 2, 12.5. I'm just going to write the 12.5 here. 25 divided by 3, oh gosh, 8 point repeating 3. Let's try 4. Oh my goodness, is nothing going to work? Right? So now notice I keep getting decimals, and we don't want decimals, we want nice whole numbers. So let's see if there's any more. So we keep going until the number on the right passes the number on the left. So we're not there yet. Let's try 5. Oh, we get 5. Okay, now these numbers are the same, so we should be done, but let's go one spot further just to make sure. 25 divided by 6, yeah, 4.16 repeating, and we've now definitely passed the point because 4 is smaller than 6. So really, if you divide by a number and you get the same number, you can stop there. But instead of having to remember 2 rules, you can always remember the 1. No harm in going one spot further if you end up doing that. So when I look at my answers here, we had 1 and 25. And then we had decimal, 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 whole number. Now 5 repeated, so I only list it as a factor once. That's like saying, which of your friends came to a party? And you said, oh, Bob and Martha. And Bob, you don't know 2 Bobs, you only know the one. You wouldn't say their name twice. So same thing with factors, you don't need to repeat it twice. There we go. Let's look at a couple more. Okay, so let's start out with 26. I'm going to try 1. So 26 divided by 1 is 26. So I know I've got 1 and 26. Let's try 2. 26 divided by 2 is 13. So we've got 2 and 13. And then let's try 3. 26 divided by 3, decimal. So that's not a factor. 26 divided by 4, decimal. So that's not a factor. 26 divided by 5, we've got another decimal. And remember, I'm looking for when the number I get is smaller than the number I divided by. So we are still bigger than what we divided by. So let's go one more. 26 divided by 6. Okay, now we've got our decimal, and it is smaller than what we divided by. So we can stop making our list, and this is our answer. So once you get used to the method and you recognize what you need to do, you don't have to show any work when you're finding your factors because most of the work is on the calculator. But as you are learning, it's helpful to write that work down so you remember the process a little bit better, and also so that the teacher knows that that's the process you're using. All right, let's do one more together. So this one is 19. So I'm going to start out with 19 divided by 1. We get 19. So both 1 and 19 are factors. 19 divided by 2. Oh gosh, divided by 2 gives us 9.5. So since we got a decimal, we're not done. 19 divided by 3. We got 6.3. So again, we got a decimal, so that's not a factor. And 6.3 is still bigger than 3, so we're going to keep dividing. 19 divided by 4, we get 4.75. So 4 is not a factor because we got a decimal, and we're still bigger than what we divided by, so we keep going. 19 divided by 5, we got another decimal, and we're smaller than what we divided by, so now we can stop. And that's it. It's just 1 and 19. Oof. All right, so we've got a few problems for you to try on your own. Some of these numbers are going to be like some of the early ones we started where you have a lot of factors, and some of them are going to be like that last one where only 1 in the number itself worked. Okay, so don't be discouraged if you don't find any. I mean, you should find at least the 1 in the number. That'll usually work. But otherwise, sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you don't. In our next video, we're going to talk about how you can compare factors of two numbers to try and find out which one is the biggest one they have in common. So, looking forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, have a magnificent day.